let's get this party started.
He's shining a light in the dark corners of our media.
You are fake news.
Our government.
Handling of classified documents.
And our culture.
Don't trust anyone.
It's common sense amidst chaos.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Here's your host, Ike Wingate.
Good afternoon and welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, August 5th, 2025, and we are glad you are with us today as the deep state subpoenas have just been dropped, and it looks like at least we are one step closer to accountability when it comes to weaponizing, politicizing, and all the above of our system against outsiders like President Trump, like you, like me, like those that are not involved in being enriched by the system and taking advantage of it and grasping for power at every turn. The accountability and justice, at least at this point, is moving forward. You know that we proceed with caution in these matters because, well, we've been let down before. And so while I am hopeful, I am still cautiously optimistic in this endeavor. And so we're going to bring you the names on the list in which have been summoned by the power of Congress to appear and testify on several things. So we will bring you that here momentarily, as well as Trump is on the roof of the White House. Never seen a president on the roof of a White House before. But we have a president unlike any other we've had, so at least in our lifetimes. And so we're going to show you some pretty funny images of that. As I heard a commentator say earlier, there is no Trump like construction Trump, right? When it comes to the building and development of beautiful buildings. He is in his element without a doubt. Plus, the Democrats in Texas are in big trouble in big Texas, because the Democrat lawmakers, we're not talking about, federal lawmakers. We're not talking about the Senate or the House. We're talking about state level lawmakers in Texas have fled the state from Texas to Illinois, of all places, a place that has been guilty of this, what they call gerrymandering. Some call it gerrymandering. They're wrong, I believe. I will say Jerry. You can say Gary. Tomato, tomato. Either way, it's basically a way to change the congressional or the congressional districts in a state to where it is most likely that you will pick up certain seats. And the lawmakers in Texas are the ones that have to, vote on it. And they have decided, well, they're going to circumvent their duties that they agreed to, and they fled the state. And now it's getting very serious for them. Now, this redistricting, of course, has federal implications because this determines how many likely people will be designated to be in the House. It's mainly the House, right? That's where you get more representatives in Congress. And so basically what they do is if you have a district, the district is made up of a certain amount of people, right? So they all are supposed to represent roughly the same amount of people. And what they do is they get really creative on how they draw the lines to make sure they can take that entire area rather than basically breaking it up like a grid and saying, here's what it is. So they get real creative in moving the lines around to guarantee that they'll win. And the Democrats have been guilty of this for quite some time. California, Maryland, Rhode Island, Illinois, several others. And now the Republicans are getting smart too and saying, actually, you know what? We have a way that we can do this. Instead of just concentrating one district around a lot of Democrat voters, they're saying, no, let's divide that up. So where that one district isn't dominated just by Democrats. It makes more sense, I think. And then again, they're both guilty of it, right? But when you're drawing districts that look like a, drunk Rorschach test that makes no sense, where it's like, weaving around several counties in this one thin area, that's an indicator of gerrymandering. And the Democrats have been doing it for a long time, and now they're acting like they're clutching their pearls. I can't believe what Republicans are doing. This is just so bad that we're not even going to be in session to vote on it. So they have fled the state, and that is, against their duties. And so it's amped up when we talk about gerrymandering. As Mostly Penny aptly points out, it is only a problem when the Republicans do it, not when the Democrats do it, right? And so we're going to talk about that. Plus, Hunter Biden lies about Trump, Melania, and Epstein, and that gets a big retraction. And we're going to show that to you as well. Plus, these jobs numbers revised down last week. It's really convenient that the jobs numbers were revised down after the Fed met, right? And so people are like, I can't believe Trump is firing just because he doesn't, he's firing this person who's the head of these labor statistics because he doesn't like what they said. Oh, please. If that is your perspective, it means you haven't been paying attention, because all throughout the Biden administration, they put out these incredible job numbers. See, not a joke. Economy's doing great. Not a joke. Right, Biden? And then months and months later, after Biden dropped out, they revised them down by nearly 1 million. So they've revised them down multiple times. It's a huge problem. I can't believe, honestly, that the same person was allowed to carry over into the Trump administration. I get it. The Trump administration has been moving at lightning speed, accomplishing all kinds of things in a matter of 6 months. And so you imagine there are going to be some things that fall through the cracks until they become a problem. And so this Biden appointee inside the Bureau of Labor Statistics has been in there and then is allowed to carry over. And then what do? They're revising again. It's not about Trump being mad that they're revising numbers he doesn't like. It's a pattern of incompetence, and the archaic way that they attempt to gather these jobs numbers is just, I'm shocked at how they do it. There's obviously a big flaw in the system, but this is a pattern of revisions over and over and over. It's like, well, you can't trust anything that the person puts out. So why should they keep their job? But I find it really convenient. If these lower jobs numbers had come out before the Fed meeting last week, they probably would have lowered the rate. But conveniently, the day after the Fed decides to keep the rate the same, these job numbers come out. And then you don't have another Fed meeting for, I think, another 2 months or so. I think it's every quarter. So I don't think that's an accident. Now, another indicator on these jobs numbers is we don't have, this bloated federal government hiring that we had at one time. And so when you look at the jobs numbers and you analyze it, the job growth in this country is specifically related to American-born workers. The decline in jobs numbers related to foreign-born workers and federal workers. So you might see on the surface these jobs numbers and say, oh my gosh, something's not going right. Actually, what you have here is quality, not quantity, which is what you want for a true, healthy, robust economy. But regardless of that very, very encouraging nugget of data, you still have a problem with the reliability of the jobs numbers. So it's no wonder that Trump wants to get rid of this person, get someone in here who can overhaul the system in a way that would make it much more reliable and accurate. I mean, they're messing with a lot of things when they put these numbers out, by the way. They have a lot of, implications when it comes to the stock market and other aspects. And so, it's still, though, very convenient. The numbers come out after the Fed rate. So we're going to get into some of that as well. So a lot to get to today. I hope that you will help us in the algorithm by doing a simple thing, by hitting the thumbs up, smashing the like button, and reposting this feed. If you're watching on X, you can heart the post and repost. And please interact in the chat with what we're talking about. We want your comments on the subjects we're talking about because I want to know your perspective. Mostly Penny says these jobs people are, the jobs numbers, Bureau of Labor Statistics, are worse than a weatherman still employed. One of the very few jobs that can get it wrong repeatedly and keep their position. David Slink says the process for getting these numbers is third grade level. I would agree with that 100%. And so we are going to show you those things. Pam says, I can't wait to get caught up on what is happening. Rooftop Trump is what David Slink says. And we are going to show you President Trump on the roof. Rooftop Trump. We got to come up with some phrases here for Trump on the roof. Instead of Fiddler on the roof, it's Trump on the roof. Okay. Here's the big story. All right. We're talking about jobs numbers, all that stuff. It's important, but not quite as important as the bombshell that has been dropped on who's getting subpoenaed. And here's the list. Now, Catherine Herridge says the witnesses here, there's a lot of overlap. People that have knowledge of the Clinton emails. Oh, I'm so happy this is coming back. I am so happy that the Clinton email scandal is back in the news because it was buried. Like it was not a big deal. James Comey, a big part of that. Obviously, Obama now, as we know, a big part of that too. But I'm so happy it's back because it was overlooked and President Trump showed mercy. You can't do this to a former president's wife. You just can't do it. And obviously he has a different perspective now because they tried to destroy the man's life. Okay? And so you have overlap of the Clinton emails, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, and the Epstein files. I mean, the trifecta, my friends. And Representative James Comer, chairman of the House Oversight Committee, posted this on X. They are compelling the following individuals to appear for depositions through issued subpoenas. And boy, do we have a list of celebrities here. Let's see if we can get this going. Okay. All right, you ready? Are you ready? Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton subpoenaed to appear October 9th. Former President Bill Clinton, October 14th. I tell you what, I guess I'm going to have to go before this committee, Hillary. I'm going to have to tell them the truth. I did not have, wait, they're not going to ask me about that. Okay, I'm safe. I guess everybody already knows. So you got Bill Clinton, October 14th. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland, October 2nd. Come on down. Next on the list, former FBI Director James Comey, October 7th. October. What a month. It's my birthday. It's my wife's birthday. And it's also Christmas for some of us, I would say, for the sake of truth. U.S. Attorney General William Barr. William Barr, subpoenaed to appear on August 18th. I think he knows a little something about the Russia, about the Epstein files. You know, his father was involved in defending him in some cases, but he also has a lot of other knowledge about things that were going on behind the scenes. U.S. Attorney General Alberto Gonzales, August 26th. U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions, August 28th. Former FBI Director Robert Mueller on September 2nd. Attorney General, former U.S. Attorney General Loretta Lynch, come on down, September 9th. And then you have former U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder, September 30th. All of these people have been now compelled to appear for depositions. These are not just friendly request. These are subpoenas. And of course, we know if you deny or you refuse to comply with the subpoena from the House Oversight Committee, you can spend time in jail. That's exactly what happened to Steve Bannon and I believe Peter Navarro. I believe that was his reasoning too. And so there is precedent for jail time if you do not appear. And so we have a lot of members here of the deep state subpoenas is what I'm calling it. And as Harridge points out here, of course, several witnesses with overlap regarding the Clinton email scandal, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, and the Epstein files. So it'll be very interesting. I don't know if this is going to be, is it going to be an open deposition? I don't know. We do not, let's see, does he say? He does not say here, James Comer. So, boy, would it be nice if it were open. We would live stream that, get some popcorn. Why not? And so, again, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not saying, we've arrived, but boy, are we in a next huge step in this process. It can't be understated, or maybe it can't be overstated. It can't be overlooked. How about that? The importance of these subpoenas, because it means that justice is being pursued. We have other aspects of justice being pursued in this same vein. We now look at this clip regarding the Russia hoax probe.
Well, Will, good to be with you. This is coming out of the Justice Department. Fox News can confirm that Attorney General Pam Bondi today signed an order directing an unnamed U.S. federal prosecutor to take evidence to a grand jury relating to an alleged conspiracy to tie then 2016 candidate Donald Trump to the country of Russia. Now, Fox News reviewed the one-page order just hours ago signed by the Attorney General. A source familiar with the probe confirms this as well, while a DOJ spokesperson declined to comment on this report of an investigation. Fox is told Attorney General Bondi is taking the referrals from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, quote, very seriously. The spokesperson says that Bondi believes there is, quote, clear cause for deep concern, end quote, and a need for the next steps. Now, this move, Will, comes just a couple of weeks after the Director of National Intelligence, you see her right there, Tulsi Gabbard, sent a criminal referral to the Justice Department regarding what she says proves there was a conspiracy to undermine Trump's candidacy and later his first term in office. Now, to be clear today, there are no charges that have been filed, no indictments. This is incredibly early in the process. What we have here is taking evidence the Justice Department believes it has to a grand jury to secure an eventual indictment or indictments. We don't know exactly where the grand jury will meet. We don't know who will go before the grand jury, and that's by design, because grand juries determine if there's enough evidence to indict, and grand juries are secretive in the American legal system, so it's normal not to know all of the answers. Again, the DOJ declining on any comment regarding this investigation. But, Will, big news, this was signed by the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, today to take this evidence of an alleged conspiracy to a grand jury with the hope to get an indictment or multiple indictments. Will?
That is big news, David, and congratulations to you. Excellent reporting on being first.
Okay, David Spunt there with Fox News reporting on that. So this is big. You have the House Oversight Committee with the subpoenas on all those people. Then you have a grand jury, which means it is there's no denying it has gone to the next level when it comes specifically to this Russian collusion hoax. And so criminal referrals, which means obviously DNI Gabbard believes that there was criminal activity that has occurred that is prosecuted, that is prosecutable. And then you have the Attorney General Pam Bondi, who concurs and has now convened this grand jury to then meet and determine will charges be brought. I mean, this is I'm feeling a little tingly here because it's like, whoa, is this really happening? Now, further good news on this is, according to John Solomon, just the news, we aren't talking about a grand jury in Washington, D.C., people that are very partial to deep state activity. It looks like it's coming from the state of Florida.
This is a major development. We told you last week that Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, had given permission for a strike force to begin. That's a very specific tool the Justice Department uses on major conspiracies. And we told you then we would know it was getting serious when the grand jury jumped into action. We now know that a grand jury will be impaneled. Most likely, my sources are telling me it could be in Florida, where the raid of President Trump's Mar-a-Lago home happened. So that is the very latest. You can check it out at Just News. We're going to have a whole lot more on that over the course of the next year.
All right. So sources for John Solomon saying Florida, the state of Florida, where the Mar-a-Lago raid occurred. I used to be the hunted. Now I'm the hunter. That is what is clear here in these latest developments. So obviously we have to wait and see on this, but a huge, potentially huge development when it comes to this grand jury meeting in Florida. And people want to say, oh, Trump's weaponizing the justice. I mean, give me a freaking break. You literally went after Trump for crimes, alleged crimes, with no victims. $500 million in fines. I mean, it wasn't even close. You resurrected a charge against Trump with this Stormy Daniels thing regarding literally an alleged accounting error that everyone had passed on until he decided to run. And basically I would call it, I don't understand. It's basically like double jeopardy, like entrapment, because if he would have listed that as a campaign expense, he would have been dinged there, and he didn't. Now, allegedly, this is just Michael Cohen giving him an invoice and not telling him what's going on with it, and that's what he testified originally and then changed his story after getting a plea deal. Now he's, sort of begging Trump for a pardon. And so save it. Miss me on the weaponization side. When you look at what they went after Trump for, again, there was no there were no victims, there was no crime. What we're talking about here is literal crimes against our country. We're talking about treason. We're talking about sedition. We're talking about a waste of millions and millions of dollars of taxpayer-funded money to investigate when the entire time the people at the top knew it was all manufactured. And really, the chain of events is laid out pretty succinctly by Matt Taibbi, who is saying basically what you had here. The order of events was Clinton's email scandal happened. They needed cover for it. They manufactured the Russian collusion hoax, and then they went after Trump to try to diminish and try to keep him from becoming president. That is basically the order of events. Taibbi lays it out that essentially the Russian collusion hoax, the use of the Steele dossier, uncorroborated, unconfirmed, Oppo research for the Clinton campaign was used in that because Hillary Clinton's emails were a major problem. She could and should have been prosecuted for it. James Comey, the FBI director, not the attorney general, was, made the announcement that they wouldn't pursue anything. Wait a minute. How is that even up to him anyway? And, oh, by the way, you also have, according to what D&I Gabbard has put out, you had collusion between Loretta Lynch and the Clinton campaign, where she was sharing information with Clinton on what they had and didn't have and whether or not they were going to come after her. And we also know that Bill Clinton met with Loretta Lynch on her plane. I want to make sure I've got that right. I mix her and Susan. Bill Clinton meets with Loretta Lynch on plane. I'll make sure I'm telling you. Okay. Right. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Loretta Lynch. Bill Clinton, Loretta Lynch described their infamous tarmac meeting. Okay. I'll just show this to you on the screen. The Office of U.S. Inspector General Michael Horowitz released a long-awaited report yesterday about the actions of the Justice Department and FBI during the 2016 presidential campaign, describing the infamous tarmac meeting between then Attorney General Loretta Lynch, former President Bill Clinton in Phoenix. Some Trump supporters claim that the meeting proved Obama's administration and Hillary's campaign were colluding to get her elected. Ho, ho, ho! Some Trump supporters were right again. The report, however, from the Inspector General says it's just how awkward the meeting was and how radically different Lynch and Clinton experienced that encounter. Former President Clinton said he recalled walking toward the plane and Lynch and her staff were getting off of the plane. He greeted her and Lynch said, "Hey, it's 100 degrees out here. Come up and we'll talk about our grandkids." Give me a damn break. Who does that? Hey, Bill, what's up, Slick Willie? Come on up here in this plane. It's hot out here. Let's talk about our grandkids. Give me a break. Lynch, okay, that's what Clinton said. That's Clinton's recollection. Okay. Hold on a sec here. I'm trying to figure out who just texted me. Okay. All right, that was Clinton's recollection. Yes, I know I'm taking a little detour here, but this is important for historical value. Lynch's account of what happened was that Clinton boarded the plane in a matter of seconds, suggesting he was in the stairwell near the door to the plane. Lynch said she was very surprised he wanted to meet with her because they did not have a social relationship, and she was surprised to see him right there in the doorway so quickly. Isn't that what some of the rape victims said about Bill? Anyway, former President Clinton also said he did not recall mentioning West Virginia coal policy to Lynch, but that he would not be shocked if he had, because he thought a lot about it and frequently talked about the issue. I don't know why. Then he made some comment about West Virginia. I don't know if he was headed to West Virginia. I don't know, is what Lynch says. There was a reference to it. He made a comment, blah, 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 blah. Clinton said he discussed with his chief of staff whether he should say hello to Lynch. They debated whether he should do it because of all the hoopla in the campaign, blah, 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 blah. Lynch estimated they talked for 20 minutes. She became increasingly concerned as the meeting went on and on. She thought about it later that evening with her staff about, in the context of the case, she concluded that it was too long of a conversation to have had. It went beyond, "Hi, how are you?" And it went beyond the discussions I've had with other people in public life and political life. It went beyond that in terms of length. Lynch said that after the senior counselor got back on the plane, former President Clinton commented, "Oh, she's mad at me because I'd been on the plane too long and she's come to get you." Well, we do have to go, Lynch said. Okay. All right. So the point remains here. Okay. We talk about the order in which things went, how the collusion happened, how Comey decided not to prosecute on the emails, how Loretta Lynch was in contact, according to the brief and the intelligence report, by the way, that Lynch was talking with the Clinton campaign. And then we had a specific instance that people pointed to, this plane meeting, and they both have different stories of what happened. I mean, give me a freaking break. I'm not reading David Sling's comment, although it is funny. So there's so much corroborating evidence now. Things we knew then, things we know now. It's all lining up. It's literally like you're putting a filter over a picture, and it's filling in, all the dots to make it very clear. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? And so it's not contradicting itself. It's pretty interesting all these years later how it is lining up. All right. So more to come on that. I would say not for me, not today, but I would say stay tuned. Stay tuned because it is heating up, as they say. All right. Now we have a president on the roof. President on the roof. A reporter asked him, "What are you doing up there?" We're taking a little look. We're taking a little look at the roof. That's what we're doing. Take a look.
Mr. President, what are you doing up there?
Come down and talk to us.
What are you building?
Are you considering more renovations, sir?
We're taking a little look. We're looking at it because the ballroom on the other side, we're taking a little look at the stuff, and we're taking a good look here. And then, the reporter's yelling up at him, and Trump says, "Hi, Peter." You're looking good, Peter.
Are you going to build up?
Hi, sir.
Mr.
Okay.
President,
He's doing the hand motions. And the reporters, I mean, does it not seem like the reporters really like Trump? I mean, you would think, even if they don't agree with him or they feel like it's their job to, ridicule this guy or be critical, the stark contrast between anybody that covered the White House 4 years ago and then now, it has to be like, okay, at least I like going to work. And of course, you got plenty of people saying, there's that one triggered, deranged liberal chick on X. Her name's Jo, J-O, something or another. And, she was going crazy the other night. People, kids are starving, and you're using our taxpayer money for a new ballroom. Well, Trump has always said, just like he did with the big, beautiful flagpole, big erection, it was paid for by him. And so when it comes to this ballroom, I'll raise the money. And if not, whatever, I will pay for the entire thing, $200 million.
Anything I do is financed by me.
Anything I do, he says on the roof, is financed by me.
So, in other words, contributed. Just like my salary is contributed, but nobody ever mentions that.
Just like my salary is distributed, nobody ever mentions that. He doesn't take any money for the job. All right. Anything we do is going to be financed by me. All right. More from the roof of the White House as Trump is taking questions. He's got his hands around his mouth, sort of a makeshift megaphone, if you will.
He's taking questions, or he was just a few moments ago. Let's listen in, please.
Looking good, Peter.
Are you going to build up?
Hi, sir.
What does that mean?
What do you do? 4 ways to spend my money.
Can you give us another hint?
We'll show you.
They're quite a ways away.
My money for the country.
Just another way I can spend my money for the country. That's what he said. So President Trump, I mean, he is just a national treasure, this guy. Here's a view from the roof, actually, if you want to see the other angle of Trump on the roof. Maybe we'll see it. Maybe we won't. I don't know. We'll find out. Here we go.
Can you give us another hint?
We'll show you. It's just another way to spend my money for the country.
Is it a story?
get out the words contributed, just like my salary is contributed, but nobody ever mentions that. Sir, you can add another level. So,
Just another way to spend my money for the country. Anything we spend is going to be contributed by me, just like my salary is contributed, but nobody ever talks about that, So they're over there in the little press tent yelling out to President Trump as he's over there. The dude's walking on the roof. I mean, he's involved in everything. There's nothing off limits for this president when it comes to his care and attention into making our country great. And he looks at these real estate, physical structures as symbols that should be respected, should be honored, and should look good and should be grand and be demonstrative of how great our country is. And so that, of course, we know Trump's heart is in development, buildings, and all the above. So it makes sense. I'm actually, as I was thinking about this, I'm surprised that he didn't do much of this in the first term. But I'll tell you, as we are on the heels of talking about this Russian collusion hoax, I mean, so much of his time and attention and the country's was diverted over this hoax. So it's no wonder, he wouldn't have time for something like this. But it shows you how different things are this time. Trump is in control. Trump is commanding the coverage. Trump is not only getting things done left and right for the country, he's also, prioritizing making sure that our White House looks as good as it possibly can and saying, you know what, I've got some ideas actually, which is really refreshing that a president comes in and he's doing it on his own dime because he loves the country. He wants to put his mark on his time there, and it's a priority. He has time for it because the dude never sleeps, and he's got incredible momentum. And I was watching some clip of Charlemagne the fraud on his radio show talking with a guy who was like, I've normally voted for Democrats, but, Trump is the first politician in my lifetime to actually do what he said he was going to do. And they're like, well, what has he done? Well, this guy kind of had a hard time articulating it, as far as an exhaustive list, but he mentioned the border, of course, which is a big deal. But what about lower gas prices? What about, what about inflation staying down? What about the tariff deals that are bringing in, record revenue right now? He said he was going to do all of those things. The various executive orders and things specifically related to men and women's sports and getting that finally sorted out in the courts and things like that. And so you tell me, what else has President Trump promised and delivered in his first term that you are excited about or that maybe I missed? Because there is a long, long list, and so much of it has happened that you tend to forget. You tend to forget what he did back in January or February or even March because of the speed and the quantity of the list of accomplishments. So let me know in the comments. I would like to read those. Mostly Penny says, promises made, promises kept. Rocky said he didn't build any flagpoles in the first term because he was fighting for his life. Mostly Penny says, Mr. President, are you checking to see if the roof is tall enough for the Fed chair to have an accident from that height? David Sling, breaking straight from the White House. Looks at notes. The White House roof. We are live from the White House roof. Rocky says, I bet Secret Service was freaking out with him on the roof there. Mostly Penny says, those flagpoles were a bigger erection than the Clinton days. Hello, Peter. Hello. Hi, Peter. Looking good from up here, Peter. Oh, my gosh. David Sling says Trump is now the rooftop goat. He's the goat. He's now the rooftop goat, the greatest of all time. All right. And so if you have comments on what those accomplishments were or have been, keep them coming in the comments. All right. So you've got this guy, Zoran Mamdani, this guy who is now the Democrat nominee for mayor in the city of New York. He and Pocahontas got together, and now he has done a complete 180 as it relates to his position on the police. And at one time, you know, it was defund the police, and he, you know, said that nature was healing when someone tweeted out that a police officer was seen crying in their vehicle. I mean, and now, wouldn't you know it, as I've said all along, this guy's an ear tickler, just telling people what they want to hear. Now, after one of the most deadliest shootings in New York City in decades happened last week, here he is talking about, we need more police and whatnot.
We know it is one that also comes from listening to officers themselves. 200 officers are leaving the department every month. A leading cause of their departure is forced overtime. And the fact that every year we ask them to take on additional responsibilities. We are making it more and more difficult for them to respond to the very responsibilities that drew them to the job in the first place. And I think about the 7 major categories of crime as listed in CompStat. That is not the full extent of what we ask officers to do. The NYPD receives 200,000 mental health calls every year. How can they be expected to respond to that and to this? New Yorkers rightfully have concerns around public safety, and I want to empower police officers to respond to serious crime and hire the mental health professionals to respond to mental health calls.
How do you eliminate all?
Oh, okay. Wow. It's quite the stark difference from what you've said the last several years. And of course, he's standing there with Pocahontas. Isn't that a beautiful, just historic sight there? I don't know what the heck Senator Elizabeth Warren is doing there, except for trying to ride some coattails. But the New York Post headline writer has done it again with this incredible headline: African American meets Native American. Yeah, 2 people that pretend to be a different race or ethnicity for sympathy, for special treatment, and for more opportunity. Mamdani on his application for college doing that. And of course, you know, Pocahontas just doing it so she can, play a professional victim. And it was, of course, found out that she was totally full of crap. But an incredible headline, once again, from the New York Post: African American meets Native American. Complete posers. You know what I'm saying? People that don't have allegiance to the United States of America. Am I right or am I right? And we have another person like that. You know, Ilhan Omar basically identifies with Somalia or something like that, right? Now we have another representative in Congress on the Democrat side, Representative Delia Ramirez. She was at a summit in Mexico City this weekend where she told the audience while speaking in Spanish that she's a proud Guatemalan. You don't pronounce the G like guacamole? I'm a proud Guatemalan before I'm an American. That's what she said here in Spanish. Okay. So the translation: I'm a proud Guatemalan before I'm an American. Then get the hell out of our country. That's what you were supposed to do when you come to America. You don't have to forget where you're from. You don't have to forget your heritage. But if you're an American, you're supposed to pledge allegiance to the American flag. You're supposed to assimilate. And my gosh, dare I say it, you're supposed to speak English. I can't tell you, this is one of my new things to harp on as I think about it. We've just sort of lived in this reality of encountering people who cannot speak English that are in our country. I'm not talking about tourists. I'm not talking about people here temporarily. I'm talking about people doing jobs. I can't tell you how many delivery people I have encountered at my home trying to get in the gate who are not English speaking. They're in the wrong place, and they're nice enough people, but I have to spend 10 minutes explaining to them in as broken Spanish as I can that they're in the wrong place. And when I get done, I just think, I wish I had that time back. And then I go to the next level and say, wait a minute, why is the onus on me? Why shouldn't these people be expected and required to speak English if they're going to be in this country on a work visa, or if they're going to be here in a temporary status, or if they're going to be citizens? They should have to speak English. I just think about this occurrence, and if you multiply it all across the country on a single day, how it has to be happening to more people than just me, and how this is just completely inefficient. It's a time waster. Time is money, so it is costing our country, and I just don't think it's unreasonable to say if you want to stay in a country, you need to speak the language. To me, it is just a bare minimum requirement and expectation. Again, I'm not mad at these people. I don't want to harm these people. I wish the best for these people. But I also look at them and say, you're lazy. You are not doing what it takes to assimilate to this country. And that's what you should do. If I go and live in Mexico and I go around speaking English to everyone and expect them to somehow translate and decipher, I would think to myself, man, I am presuming a lot on other people's time and energy, and I'm really kind of a turd. Like, I am not very considerate. Now, if you're there on vacation, you're there for a week, a lot of these people, you know, they want to interact with you and they can speak some English. I get it. Those are not the people I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the people who are vacationing here temporarily. I'm just saying, if you're going to live in the United States of America, you need to at least speak some basic level of English to be able to communicate and understand the words. You're in the wrong place. You know, people go, well, you just, you know, here's how you say it in Spanish. You know, no bueno. Okay, great. I can do that. But shouldn't the onus, shouldn't the responsibility be on them? I think it should. And then you have people that are here from other countries serving in Congress, and they're telling people in public, actually, my allegiance is first to my other country. That's not what the immigration policy historically has been built upon in this country. It is people wanting to come to the United States of America for a better life, and then they become Americans. They don't have to forget where they came from. They don't have to forget their genealogy. They don't have to forget any of that. They can still serve their home country's meals, and that could be part of their culture. But first and foremost, they have to be an American. That's where the allegiance needs to lie. And I don't think that's unreasonable at all as far as a request goes. All right, so you have some recesses going on in Congress, right? Now we're talking about the rules changes potentially in the Senate, because for the first time ever in any presidency, there have been no voice votes. There's been no unanimous consent votes. The Democrats are fighting tooth and nail every which way. In the past, Democrats just changed the rules to get around this. The Republicans have been reluctant to do so, but Senator Markwayne Mullin out of Oklahoma is now saying that's about to change.
And say, no, because you have filibustered every single one of President Trump's nominees, which is unheard of. It has never been taken place. It's never happened in the history of the United States. You have forced us to make this change. So it gives President Trump all month to make the case to the American people that Chuck Schumer took the nuclear option, and now we're going to make the rule change to make the Senate work more efficient, which is honestly the best outcome. I would make the argument because we're doing the rule change, we can fix this for the long term.
Well, hold on. But so two things. What will the rule change be? And if I'm drawing on memory of some of our other conversations, doesn't the rule change require 60 votes or 67 or some goofy number?
Yeah, so it technically used to require 67. Chuck Schumer changed it when he was in office, and Mitch McConnell actually made a speech in 2017 and said, because you did this, you have forever changed the norms of the Senate. And so Mitch McConnell was the one that warned Schumer for making the change. He did make the change, and now it put us in this situation. So now we can do 51, and we can do now we'll have to overrule the parliamentarian, which it's fine. We'll have the votes to overrule the parliamentarian. Chuck Schumer did that prior to 2017. So we will simply have to overrule the parliamentarian by a simple vote of 51, and then we can do the rule change at 51. What the rules change would be, we have several options. One, if we got to look at the tiers, so outside the president's cabinet and outside of second tier individuals and outside of judges. So those would be still set at 30-hour debates. Everybody else below that, we have two options. Easiest option is that we take the motion from a 2-hour debate down to a 15-minute debate, and we're able to stay in executive session all day. What happens right now is after every vote, we go automatically back to legislative session, and we have to go back into executive session, which requires us to have 2 extra votes. So every nominee takes 4 votes. Each vote will take about 35 minutes to do, plus a 2-hour debate. So you got 4 hours plus on every person. If we take away the executive calendar from the legislative calendar and have to go in and out, we can stay in it all day, and we can just simply vote to end cloture, 15-minute debate, vote. The other option on that one, and so we go from 4 votes to 2 votes. The other option on that one is to assume that the nominee that comes out of the committee to the floor would be a non-debatable, and we could move them straight to the floor and for a floor vote. That is a tougher option because that takes rule change actually out into the committee too, and a lot of committee chairmen are territorial about that. But you could do it. I think the more likely option will be that we will do a similar vote, which will mean that anybody that comes out of the committee with a bipartisan vote can go straight to the floor for a vote, and anyone else would take a 15-minute debate. I mean, we're able.
Okay, so basically they're going to change the rules. They're going to speed up this process. I've thought to myself, why didn't John Thune, the majority leader, do this from the beginning? Basically, he has cover, as in we tried to do this. We tried to go through and not change the rules. You guys left us no choice because you're now sabotaging it. Mark Wayne Mullen here seems to say that they are going to still make sure that it gets out of committee in a bipartisan vote, and then they can fast track it. To me, it's even they're still giving Democrats more than they deserve, because at this point they've all been playing dirty, and it is insane that we're in August right now and there's not been one voice vote, there's not been one unanimous consent vote. They've gummed up everything when it comes to these votes and getting these nominees. As a president is entitled to have the people he wants serving in his administration serving, and they are doing anything they possibly can to sabotage. And so quit playing nice and let's get on with it. Is my perspective on this. So hopefully when they are back in session, I don't know exactly. The House is definitely on recess right now. Let me just ask Grok. Is the Senate in session currently? Not in session. They adjourned on August 1st, scheduled to reconvene Saturday, August 2nd. That's already happened. No specific session is confirmed for today. All right, let me see here. Let me see if it'll tell us. All right, so they're supposed to be in a recess until September 1st for a state work period, which, by the way, these recesses, yeah, you get a little downtime. But I mean, the reason why I ask here is because allegedly there were these rumors that they were going to convene every 5 days to prohibit President Trump from doing these recess appointments. That is what I kept reading. I never saw anything definitive on it. And so if they are going to wait till September 1st, of course, that would open up opportunities for recess appointments, I would imagine. But I have not read or seen anything as far as that goes. Let me do a little more research here on the fly. Excuse me. This is why I need a really good producer to be looking this stuff up. Let's see. Recess appointments. I mean, according to Nick Sorter, Thune will block recess appointments. But if they're going to be in recess that long, let's see here. Okay. So you've got Mike Lee.
One that would allow President Trump to invoke his recess appointment power. So if this is the way the Democrats want to play, they might not like the result. Either way, we're good. We just want to get President Trump's nominees in place. We intend to do it. We're going to win. And by the way...
Okay. So, according to Mike Lee, he drafted a concurrent resolution of adjournment, one that would allow President Trump to use his power under the Constitution to make recess appointments, and whether or not they had the votes to pass it. All right. I don't know if they passed it or not.
And we'd rather get these... We've continued to have delay after delay. And we'd rather get these people confirmed. Senate Republicans are ready, willing, and able.
Okay. Well, for now, we wait and see. Okay. Now, a couple other things here. Let me get some of your comments going on. A call to order, then a dismiss every day. Right after that. But basically, they get this month off. They're supposed to be speaking with their constituents back home. That's the main point of these recesses, because you don't want to be totally disconnected. So you should be seeing your senators and your congressmen and women out and about in their districts near you, getting, excuse me, a direct contact from their constituents. You're probably not seeing that a whole lot, but that's what they're supposed to do, as Chris Rock said. Let's see here. Now, another thing here. I want to clear something up here. This was reported. The Trump administration announced that U.S. states and cities that boycott Israeli companies will be denied federal aid to natural disasters, according to Reuters. States and cities must follow terms and conditions to qualify for this federal emergency management funding. They stated in notices on Friday in the terms and conditions requiring they not sever commercial relations specifically with Israeli companies to be able to qualify. and it applies to at least $1.9 billion that states rely on to cover search and rescue equipment. Now, there is some specific language when it comes to Israeli boycotts in a lot of stuff, which is really kind of strange, isn't it? You don't see that for other countries, but that is the case. I read this and I thought, man, this isn't, I don't really love the fact, although I support Israel in a lot of ways, it doesn't mean they have a blank check for everything, and it doesn't mean they can do no wrong, because they are human and they have their own interests in mind. You have this big conflict on, this humanitarian conflict or crisis allegedly in Gaza. Well, you got Witkoff that visited and said, yeah, this is a war zone, but it's not a humanitarian crisis. So basically we're hearing that, Israel is causing people to starve and is destroying food, which, by the way, I still don't understand why Israel is expected to feed the people that they are fighting. I mean, think about that. That's just a weird concept, but nonetheless, I've been watching this, closely and thinking, Israel, what are you doing? Well, you hear, you see these reports, you see Tucker Carlson saying it, other people saying it, other people going undercover in some of these things. And then you had some change in how the aid was being distributed. And allegedly it is happening as it should. And according to people on the ground, they're saying Hamas is the one sabotaging it. It makes it really challenging, doesn't it, to figure out where the truth is? But, there's a lot of attention on this. Fox News actually has people on the ground. I was supposed to be there next week, but in fact, instead, I'm going to New York City to fill in as co-anchor on Wake Up America on Newsmax Monday and Tuesday morning. So I will not be in Israel, but there are people there on the ground. There will be people there next week on the ground, lots of influencers on the ground. You'll be able to see what they're showing you. Now, granted, they're not going into Gaza, so that's one of the big questions, right? Either way, though, as we step back, regardless of your support for Israel or not, I don't like the U.S. government telling states they can't decide not to do business with Israel and still expect to get FEMA money, right? It just doesn't sit well with me being told what they have to do in order to get it. Now, on that subject, though, you will be probably, hopefully, happy to hear that this guidance has now been changed, striking that clause regarding specific funding or boycotts to Israel. This line has been removed. Discriminatory prohibited boycott means refusing to deal, cutting commercial relations, or otherwise limiting commercial relations, specifically with Israeli companies or with companies doing business in or with Israel or authorized, licensed, or organized under the laws of Israel to do business. That has been struck from it. Charlie Kirk reporting that he has been informed that it has been removed, and the updated guidelines still bar states from running discriminatory DEI programs and those that benefit illegals, but this specific clause on Israeli boycotts has now been removed. We pivot now to Texas. Attorney General Ken Paxton there confirms he's moving forward with efforts to arrest Democrats who have fled the states. That is what he talked to Benny Johnson about. Take a look.
You are the top law enforcement official in the state of Texas. What do you prescribe as the move forward, sir?
So, I mean, my first move would have been to chain them to their desk and not let them out of the door. That would have been that was what I suggested earlier last week when they were here. Since that has been left on the table, that was the most, I think, the best chance of success, the fastest. The next is trying to arrest them, but that again is going to be a challenge. And I think the governor is going to be forced into calling several special sessions. Eventually, they're going to have to come back. There's no doubt they'll come back. They have to. They have jobs, they have lives, they have families. They're not going to live in Chicago, especially when it starts getting cold. I'm telling you, that's worked. And every time that they've taken off, we have successfully gotten what we needed done. This other idea that was proposed by the governor, the challenge with that is, one, we're not sure if it works. We're going to try to figure that out. But two, it will not be an immediate resolution because If we go to court, that takes time. We get appeals. It'll go up to Texas Supreme Court. It's just not an immediate process. So, now that they've let him out of the state, it's going to take a little longer. But I'm very optimistic. If the governor, and I believe the governor will have resolve, if he keeps calling them back, it's going to be a challenge for all 51 of them to stay out of the state for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. You are the top.
Okay, so you got the attorney general now saying they're going to move on these these Democrat lawmakers and issue arrest warrants, basically, for them. And so we don't know if this is just straight up political, but now to further advance that thought, we have an answer. The FBI has now been called in and asked to help locate or arrest these Democrats who fled to Texas that are limiting. I just saw over on the ticker here that the Texas House did convene briefly, and obviously there were a lot of people that were not there. And obviously the goal here is to prevent the codification of these new districts in Texas. Again, they want to cry gerrymandering, and they are the Jerry in the mandering when it comes to what's done all over the country when you look at states that have hardly any Republican representation. But now the FBI has been called in with a stated goal to prevent the legislature. I'm sorry, that's not what they're doing. This is the Democrats. Their stated goal is to prevent the legislature from properly meeting in violation of their oath of office. The letter to Kash Patel stated the governor ordering their arrests, but they're still hanging out in Illinois, and Texas can't make arrests out of state. And so now you have Senator John Cornyn, U.S. Senator, and others that have now sent a letter to Kash Patel, the director of the FBI, and asking them to help locate or arrest these Democrat lawmakers. And so this potentially is the next big debacle that you're going to witness in media. All right, recently, good old Hunter Biden went on this podcast with this dude, which, to Hunter Biden's credit, he actually is doing something that Democrats should emulate, and that is being genuine, authentic, and calling out the mistakes that were made. Of course, he's, allegedly an ex-crackhead, and so his brain cells are fried. And he is right. Who is going to clean your hotel room when all the illegals are gone? Because we know it takes a village of people to clean a Hunter Biden hotel room. Do we not? I think we do. I mean, if it's a Hunter Biden hotel room, it's going to take a lot. Okay, thank you. So the other crazy crap that was flowing out of his mouth is on this clip. He says that Epstein is the one who introduced Donald Trump to Melania.
Epstein introduced Melania to Trump. The connections are so wide and deep. Anyway, why do we think they don't want the files released? I don't know. I think John, that thing that John Heilman says is like a long time ago. I think is the most accurate kind of assessment of them, which is everything is projection or confession. Everything. So when he puts out that tweet and he says, Epstein now is the Russia hoax or the Hunter Biden laptop.
The laptop from hell, which the Democrats swore came from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom.
I wonder if it works. Do you know what I mean?
All right. So that is what Hunter claimed. And apparently the Daily Beast reported it. And Melania's lawyers just successfully secured a retraction from the Daily Beast because it is, of course, not true. But a crackhead can say it while he's painting whatever the heck he was just painting. If you would like to support the work we're doing to bring you this content, you can do so via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com or in the chat on Rumble. That is IkeReport.com, IKE REPORT, IkeReport.com, where we are able to we have some links there, specifically a Venmo link and a Cash App link if you'd like to support the work we are doing to bring you this content just to be able to cover our hard costs. That would be greatly appreciated, my friends. Greatly appreciated. That, we go back to Trump talking about this being a hoax, which is what I told you last week. I have this theory that the files were potentially manipulated, and that is why Trump and Bondi and those looking at it are saying, wait a minute, we know these things aren't true, and this is another hoax. And so it's possible the Democrats tried to set a trap for President Trump. He is out there saying this is a hoax. He's irritated and angry that people are even talking about it when compared to all the things that he's getting done. And save me with, well, he's trying to hide something. Look, man, the Democrats could have released this a long time ago, but they may have set a late hour trap as these files were stuck in the Southern District of New York under plenty of shady people's purview, like James Comey's daughter, who's now been fired. She, of course, was overseeing the Diddy debacle as well. There's talk that Trump may pardon Diddy. I hope he does not. Anyway, that's a sidebar. So it's possible that the files were manipulated, and that's why President Trump is now saying something different about them. But they are pursuing the truth by questioning Ghislaine Maxwell and trying to unseal that grand jury testimony in Florida that was recently blocked. And so that's what leads me to believe, hey, they're actually trying to extract and figure out what actually was admissible in this court, what actual evidence can be proven, because we know there are things in these files that we are 100% sure are not true. But again, save me with everything where, why is Trump hiding this? President Biden didn't do a dadgum thing about it. The media didn't care about it. And it's just an absolute evident case study that the Democrats and the liberal media doesn't care about the truth, but if it's something to do with Trump that they can try to attempt to smear him, then they're all about it. So they have no allegiance to the truth, no curiosity for the truth. It is just about advancing their own agenda. All right, something I did not know. This was news to me today, but President Trump confirms, President Trump confirms, as he's going to be signing an executive order to punish banks for debanking conservatives. Did you know that some big banks debanked President Trump after he was no longer president?
On a different topic, the Wall Street Journal is reporting that you're prepping an order that they say would punish banks that discriminate against conservatives, including potentially Bank of America. I'm going to be actually talking to Brian Moynihan here later today. Can you tell us about that executive order? What's in that? And what do you think the banks have done?
Well, they did discriminate. I had J.P. Morgan Chase. I had hundreds of millions of dollars in cash. I could see if they want to, if they want to do something bad because you don't have any money and you're defaulted and they took people out. But I'll give you me as an example. I had hundreds of millions. I had many, many accounts loaded up with cash. I was loaded up with cash. And they told me, I'm sorry, sir, we can't have you. You have 20 days to get out. I said, you got to be kidding. I've been with you for 35, 40 years. They said, and I mean, I had all this. I didn't know what to do with it. And I went to, and you could ask him, maybe he's not going to admit it. So I said, I was informed by my people that we have to get out of Chase Manhattan. That's Jamie and J.P. Morgan Chase. So I said, I can't believe it. Well, I was never in this situation before. I've never had anything like it. And it's not like, gee, you defaulted on a loan. Geez, if I could understand that, that's different. But there's no default. I mean, there's nothing but cash. I have a really great company. And then what happens is I call up Bank of America routinely because when I was president, this was after I got out, by the way, I call up Bank of America routinely. And I speak to him and I speak to a couple of people and they have zero interest. Brian was kissing my ass when I was president. And when I called him after I was president to deposit $1 billion plus and a lot of other things. More importantly, to open accounts, which banks always like. They like accounts because they get interest free. You know, the overnights and things. A lot of reasons for it, but they like accounts. I had hundreds of accounts, and he said, "We can't do it. No, we can't do it." So I went to another one. I ended up going to small banks all over the place. I mean, I was putting 10 million here, 10 million there, did 5 million, 10 million, 12 million. I have them all over the place, the craziest thing. And it's lucky I even had them. They were doing me a favor. And that's because the banks discriminated against me very badly. And I was very good to the banks. I had the greatest economy in the history of our country when I was president. And by the way, our economy now will blow that away. And you see it happening. But our economy now, because we're a rich country again, because of our trade deals, we've become a rich country again. But no, they totally discriminate against, I think me maybe even more, but they discriminate against many conservatives. You know, I told that story and sitting around tables with other people that were conservative or Trump supporters. I think the word might be Trump supporters more than conservative. And I believe what they did is they went to the regulators. You know, banks are not afraid of anything but a regulator. They're regulators and their wives. They're more afraid of their wives than the regulators. But the group they're really afraid of is bank regulators. And I believe that Biden or Kamala, and I don't think they're smart enough to do it, but the people that are surrounding the beautiful Resolute desk, you know, the high IQ people that are radical left, I believe they told the banking commission, the bankers, that the banking regulators, do everything you can to destroy Trump. And that's what they did. And guess what? I'm president. How did that happen?
Yeah, guess what? I'm president. Bankers are afraid of regulators and their wives, more so their wives, he says. President Trump spreading truth there, dropping truth bombs, along with a little comedy. But basically, I did not know this. He was debanked with JP Morgan Chase, and he had to go and spread, you know, handfuls of millions all over the place to various banks because people wouldn't bank with him. And now President Trump is signing an executive order to, let's see here, to punish banks for debanking conservatives. You do have some banks out there like, I believe, Old Glory Bank. I believe Larry Elder and John Rich. And there's a third person involved in those that are not going to be subject to debanking people based on their views. And so I did not know that actually happened to Trump, a billionaire, so to speak. You can join me tomorrow morning on Newsmax. I'll be on there at 8:10 a.m. Eastern time, joining Wake Up America. And as I told you, I will be there filling in as co-anchor on Monday and Tuesday morning, all morning, from 6:30 a.m. until 9 a.m. Eastern time, 2.5 hours. Should be an adventure. I've never done this before. I've never been to their studios before, but it's called Trial by Fire. Just, you know, sink or swim. Throw you into the deep end and see what happens. Pray for me, my friends. The Bureau of Labor Statistics commissioner has been putting out bogus numbers for years, right? We talked about it at the top of the show, and here's Kerry Lake talking about it with Piers Morgan.
It makes it look like he is trying to rig the system.
No, he wants somebody who knows what they're doing. And the only mistake made there was that this person wasn't fired sooner. The BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, has been putting out absolutely bogus numbers for years. During the Biden administration, in 1 year, she was off, the BLS was off by 1.18 million jobs that they overestimated. And then they had to scale it back and say, oops, we had too many jobs in that report. They really weren't created. Let us scale it back several months later. And it's these bogus numbers that have been being put out. President Trump wants competency. The only mistake made was that this person wasn't fired sooner. He wants the truth, transparency, and competency, and we haven't been getting that with the BLS. And now perhaps we'll get somebody in there who knows what the hell they're doing.
Imagine that, right? Competency, someone who knows what they're doing. It's not too much to ask when so much is riding on these numbers. And another clip from CNBC, Trump also talking about this person in the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Take a look at this clip here.
This is the response rate over the last 10, 12 years for the BLS household survey. It's dropped from 90% or so on time down to 60 and sometimes even lower. It's arguably the most important number we get about the economy. Yesterday, we had Wharton Professor Jeremy Siegel on. Just bear with me, Mr. President, and listen to this. I know you're familiar with Wharton, but unsolicited, this is what Jeremy Siegel said yesterday about the numbers.
I'm not going to let the BLS off the hook. I mean, you talk about how to fix it. Make these questionnaires mandatory and give them a time limit to fill it out. I think the response rate's down to 60%. I mean, that's unacceptable for the most important statistic that we have. It's almost like we're sending them out, fill it out when you can. We know you like to go to the beach in the summer, so it might be a little bit late. This is just not acceptable today. We need that response rate has to go up. And when you make the biggest mistake in 50 years, why? Why wasn't there an explanation?
It's 258,000 less in 2 months. That was the biggest revision since 1968, Mr. President. So we're in the internet age. We still can't get any instant data. We're still using snail mail to get the responses back. It is the government, after all. Antiquated, no doubt, and certainly suboptimal.
All right, so we never actually got Trump's reaction there, but 60% roughly participation rate, snail mail, as in real paper mail, is how they're doing this. Give me a break. This is finally some light gets shed on this. How does this happen? Well, for one, you got somebody who is overseeing an antiquated process, not trying to make it any better, and we have all of these things that depend on these bogus numbers. What are we doing here? And it finally takes President Trump to dig in and say, wait a minute, this is not working. And so with snail mail, with the low participation rate, I mean, how can this be relied on? Whether it's in the right direction or the wrong direction, either way, no matter what direction you want to look at it, I don't know how it can be relied upon. And again, like we told you earlier, we're not hiring a bunch of federal workers anymore. And we also have net positive American-born jobs up. And then a lot of these numbers are being counteracted, if you will, as far as total jobs by the loss of a lot of foreign-born jobs and a lot of self-deportation that has occurred as well. So as I said at the top of the show, we're talking about quantity, not, we're talking about quality jobs versus just a mass quantity number. This is the right way to go. But as I stated, and I've stated before, if we see a dip in many economic factors, I would say that's expected and that is okay based on all the disruption that has happened and a lot of resetting and rebalancing that's occurring with these tariffs and everything else. That would be logical. So far, we haven't seen it. Now, you could say we've seen it to an extent with these jobs numbers, but who in the heck really knows what's going on with the jobs numbers? But we do know that we're not talking about an issue of quality. We are talking about quality here, which is really what leads to a robust economy anyway. All right, this next story before we're about to go here. Again, by the way, you can support what we are doing to bring you this content via Cash App or Venmo, $5, $10, $20 contribution to help us just cover our costs. We continue to lose money every month just to be able to pay the subscriptions and the people that are involved in creating our content. And if you would like to help us cover those costs, you can do so via Cash App or Venmo at IkeReport.com. I do see Bree in the chat there. I saw a $15 gift that came in the what was it, the locals group. So thank you, Bree, for that. Bree's talking about Old Glory Bank. Yeah, we were talking about that a minute ago as well. Okay, let's see here. Mostly Penny wants to know if the people from Newsmax have called to coordinate tie or no tie. Well, no, they have not. It's always a tie, though, these days. As I mentioned, I will be on Newsmax tomorrow morning at 8:10 a.m. Eastern Time, 7:10 Central, if you want to check that out. And again, if you want to see me for the entire show on Monday and Tuesday, I'll be in New York City in studio co-hosting with Charla McBride. And so I hope you will check that out. That is from 5:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Time, Monday and Tuesday, 6:30 to 9 Eastern on Monday and Tuesday on Newsmax. And in case you missed it, I'm now an official contributor with Newsmax. Got to go up there and learn the ropes, have to prove my worth, and hopefully do well on the road to maybe solidifying some further opportunities with the network. So a dream come true, a lot of opportunity. Intimidating, yes. Opportunity, also yes, right? If you want to go to the moon, you might have power soon. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy set to announce plans to build a nuclear reactor on the moon. What? I don't know. I really don't understand why this is happening, but according to new documents, the U.S. will be announcing expedited plans for the project, hoping to launch a nuclear reactor by 2030. And this is a key consideration for astronauts' return to the lunar surface. It says the first country to put a reactor on the moon could declare a keep-out zone, significantly inhibiting the United States. So the idea is to get there first. They want to launch this by 2030 at NASA. And as China is nearing its first plan to land on the moon, Rolls-Royce recently unveiled its own lunar nuclear reactor. And they have this, example video that they have for folks here as well, which is kind
of a clean, long-term power source on the moon. Reliably, flexibly, and sustainably supporting a range of operational demands. Providing power and heat output as required. Powering new journeys. New connections, new understandings, new discovery. Rolls-Royce Micro-Reactor, the power to explore.
Okay. Do you have any Grey Poupon as well? Mostly Penny. I like that nuclear power is okay and safe and the best for the moon, but it's too dangerous here at home. Yeah, so, we might blow up the moon, but, it is absolutely the way we should be going for clean, renewable energy. And obviously, I guess this is for operations on the moon, to power operations on the moon. A couple other quick stories here before we go. Charlie Sheen was moved by Holly's story. Holly is the lady who got beaten in that attack in Cincinnati at the Jazz Fest and just beaten nearly to death. Charlie Sheen has chipped in and donated. He donated $1,000, saying both his parents are from Ohio. He's a lifelong Reds fan, and he played for the Indians in a film, Wild Thing, years ago. And anyway, he's donated to her. What's interesting is Benny Johnson posting this, and then Charlie Sheen responded, said, "I was following your lead, Benny Johnson. The speed that you and Senator Moreno hatched the donation plan was stunning and compassionate and as patriotic as it gets." Wow. As crazy as Charlie Sheen is, this is pretty cool. Maybe he's not crazy after all. Maybe he was smeared as well. Maybe the government gave him AIDS. I don't know, or HIV, I should say. But nonetheless, really, really cool, the generosity there. All right, before we go, there are some expletives in this Triggered Liberal. You've been warned.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
This liberal lady quit her job because 40 hours a week is just too much.
Because I can't take care of my basic needs and work 40 hours a week at the same time.
It's really hard to say this out loud and put it online, but I know that I'm not the only person going through this. I've almost been fired from every job that I've ever had, and it's not because I'm not smart. I actually tend to overperform in the beginning. It's just that after some time, I inevitably burn out once I wake up one day and realize that I haven't taken a shower in like 3 weeks. It's really frustrating because
You haven't taken a shower in 3 weeks because you have to work 40 hours a week. I mean, it's really tough. I guess the showers don't work the other times of the week or even on the weekends.
know that I'm an intelligent person and I've been able to accomplish a lot of really amazing things in my life, but I still can't manage to take care of myself. And it's not just a matter of not trying hard enough or not being disciplined. If I could take care of my basic needs and work full time, I would have fucking done that by now and then some. It's a form of self-sabotage to honestly be putting so much energy into these executive functioning skills at work and not have anything left to give myself. It's like I would dead ass wake up at 5 a.m., pace back and forth, start working at 7, finish work at 6, eat, sleep for dinner, and then crawl in bed at 8 o'clock. And it's like a part of me does feel insane by quitting at the verge of a recession. But it's like if I actually want to build a future for myself and get there in one piece, taking care of myself has to become my full-time job. I was not born to raise shareholder value. I'm actually meant to live a life, and I need to learn how to be a person in order to do that. So
good luck with that. A little prioritization. Even just for a shower. For crying out loud.
It's time for today's Triggered Liberal.
That's going to do it, my friends, for today's show. If you want to support us, Cash App or Venmo right now at IkeReport.com or in the chat on Rumble. Check our locals group to see when we're going to be live next at IkeNation.locals.com. Hopefully Thursday. Have a great day. Remember, never stop being a free and critical thinker because the truth is always worth it. And don't forget to follow me on X at Ike Wingate. Have a great day.
Rate, subscribe, and leave a review. It's how we get the word out amidst the chaos. Thanks for listening to The Ike Wingate Show.